What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fright Film Freaks, episode three?
Yes.
Is it
Yep.
three? Yeah, three.
Three.
Three, all right. I'm with my boy Steven. Steven, say what up.
Good evening.
What's up? I'm John, obviously. Yeah, we got a doozy for you today. We are covering 2024 Heretic.
Ooh.
I believe this movie had two directors, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and then starring Hugh Grant. Um, And what's the girl from Yellow Jackets? Is it Margaret Thatcher? Something Thatcher.
Sophie Thatcher.
Sophie Thatcher.
Yeah,
And
Sophie.
then Chloe East, right?
Yes.
Which I haven't seen her in many things. I was looking up her IMDb and like her credits, and she's really not in too many things. So this seems to be probably kind of her breakout role, considering this movie got, pretty good reviews. So
Yeah.
that's cool for her. I feel she looked familiar, but like everything I looked at on her credits, like I didn't see really anything that I've watched, so it was interesting. Um, but the
She did a
Thatcher girl, she's great, dude. Her, and I don't know if you've ever seen Yellow Jackets, but Yellow Jackets is killer, bro. You got to check out that show.
Yeah, I do gotta check that out.
It's
So
awesome. It's
I
awesome,
think
dude.
they did they add that to Netflix yet?
I think they got the first season on Netflix. If you have Paramount, they have the first two seasons, and then
Okay.
season three comes out on Showtime on Valentine's Day. And dude, I didn't think I was kind of like, oh, it's very, Lord of the Flies, girls, girl soccer team crashes in the woods and then they have to survive and they end up like forming tribes and eating people and shit. It's pretty fucking badass, dude. It's like they go all the way with it too. Like the effects are great, like, and she does a great job. She's one of the main characters and she's fucking awesome. So definitely check out that show if you haven't. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about Heretic, our third review for Fright Film Freaks. So let's get into it, man. Overall, what'd you think of this movie? What were your likes about it?
Oh man,
I know you've wanted to talk about this one since you watched it, which is at the beginning of the month, I think.
yeah, man, I saw it and I loved it, man. I wish I really saw this in theaters. I watched it at home, but I did watch it on my television, so I
Mhm.
didn't watch it like on an iPad or anything. And
Right.
man, I think everybody just, I mean, even Topher Grace did a good job in that movie, man. I
Y-
mean,
Yeah, it was interesting when he came in. I was like, what's so funny is I saw him you see him from behind first, like just the back of his head. And I was like, I think that's Topher Grace. And then he turned around. I was like, how did I know that? Like, it was so weird. He just has like such a recognizable fucking head, I guess.
all the 70 shows,
Yeah, I know. It's
episodes.
true. He's like still got the same hair and shit. Like
Yeah.
nothing's changed. Um, Hugh Grant as Mr. Reed
Yeah, Mr. Reed.
um,
Mr. Reed.
was a phenomenal performance, and I think a lot of that has to, not that he's not a great actor, but I think a lot of that has to do with not seeing him in that type of role before, you know? He's usually drama, romantic comedy type guy, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have too many roles like this, so I think that this was like a really cool. It's cool when actors get older and you see them do like more serious and like stuff like this. It's just odd. But I think it like heightens their career even more, even at his age. So I thought he did a phenomenal job, man.
Oh, killed him. He did.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it was really, he did a really good job, man. Just
he was
y-
believable.
yeah, yeah, it was very good, man. It was almost like, almost hard to, feel bad for him. Yeah,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, not like to be against him, I guess, because he wanted everyone to believe so much. I mean, what did you think as far as I love the movie.
Hmm.
I'm gonna get my rating right out of the way. 4 out of 5.
Sure.
4 out of 5. I
Okay.
but what did you think about like, him telling it and all of a sudden she's flipping it on him
Yeah,
and
yeah.
uh and then like, like the women, like what did the women serve? What was the purpose of the women?
So. obviously we find out in this movie, and this is gonna contain spoilers for this one, guys,
Yes,
because
spoilers.
it's been out for a while, so we're going all in on this one. Um, you know, obviously the main theme of this is control. You have the entire movie he's talking about this, what's the number one, what's the truest religion, what's the religion, and he states that it is control, and it's the point of these women being in cages is that he's kind of been able to control them, and they've kind of gone there almost on their own will, even though I do think there's a little bit of that phenomenon there. I can't remember what they call it. There's a sickness that when people are in a situation for so long that they just kind of start to believe it. I can't remember exactly what that's called. I'll have to look it up. And these people have it. You know what I mean? It's like it's the same thing as like if a guy locks a girl in like a underground bunker and says it's the end of the world. 3 years down the road, she hasn't seen the sun, she hasn't seen anything outside. She starts to believe that the world is gone. You know what I mean? And then she's all in on it. It's kind of like it's a sickness for sure, and that's kind of what these women have. So I'll be completely honest with you. I did not like the ending. I really didn't. I thought it was one of those movies to me. It's like it was great until it wasn't for me. But I want to state that this wasn't. It's not because it's a bad. Like this is a well-made movie. It's well acted. It's well made. The cinematography is great. The camera shots are great. Everything about the movie is great. So I know that it's a good movie, and everybody should watch this movie. But for me, just preference-wise, I did not like the ending. I did not like the women in the cage. And it was because I think I was hoping for something greater. Like I think it's kind of one of those endings where there's a fork in the road where like they can go one way or the other. And like I think those two ways was well, in this case I really think it was three ways. It was like you could go one way where he's kind of there's nothing. You know what I mean? Where it's just like he's this crazy guy and there really isn't one true religion. He's just babbling and he's kind of a serial killer at this point. Or the other way is the way they went, which is the underlying theme and symbolism of control is the true religion. What a lot of people feel about all religions that there's some sort of power trip there, and it's a way of controlling the masses, right? And then the other way is there really is this greater, crazy, ancient religion that no one knows that all the other religions are based on. And it's just like this crazy fucking thing that we've never heard of, and they kind of make it up through the story and stuff like that. I was hoping for that route. And there was at some point in the movie where I'm like, he's talking all this shit, but he's gonna be right. Like he's gonna trip these girls out. You know what I mean? And then it ended up being like the underlying theme route, which is fine. It's just I think the movie and the dialogue and the game of cat and mouse is so good, and Hugh Grant is so believable that even though I hate like you don't want to like his character, I wanted him to be right for the sake of the film, and I just didn't. It just fell a little short for me. So I mean, as far as your question with the the women in the cages and stuff, it just, I understand what they were doing and what it means, but it was kind of just like to me, kind of like, that's like a 3-4 minute scene, maybe. It's kind of just feel, I don't know if I would use the word, I guess the word would use is rushed a little bit, because like you don't really, I don't know, it was just something that I was kind of like, oh, I guess so. Like, but I didn't get enough of the women, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about it. I just felt very like a little underwhelmed about it is what I would say. How'd you
Yeah,
feel about it?
I mean, I felt they so as far as he kept those around, these women like, and I mean, they were like enslaved in prison
Sure.
and they were and he used them to, to try to prove his theory, that this woman was, resurrects and he gives the lady the script and they're willing, obviously, they're willing to do anything for him because they eat the
Correct.
blueberry pie, knowing it's poison, right?
Yes.
Um, so they know the role. So I mean, just to prove his point, I think it goes beyond like how he truly believed what he was preaching. You
Right,
know.
right. The control thing, I just like there was just some things in that scene that I was kind of like, oh, we didn't get the explanation for. Like he just like cuts her finger off, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Like you cut her finger off, and like she screams, and like that's it. So you like she's kind of under your control, but it's not like he just handed her the scissors and she cut it off herself and told her to do it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It was just a little bit unexplained to me in a position of the film where they needed to explain it. So it just that part just fell short for me a little bit. And I don't know really how to explain it better than that. It was just kind of like all of a sudden there's all these women, you know? And I understand the switching of the bodies and stuff like that, and there's all these hatches and stuff that they can go to. And she figures it out, which is cool. But I was just really hoping that she's walking down and every door she goes into, I was hoping there was just going to be like something spectacular, I guess. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of the cabin in the woods. You know, cabin in the woods
Oh
where
yeah.
then they actually go through and there's these crazy monsters and everything's all over the fucking place and you're like, what? You didn't expect this, but like it was so cool to see. It's kind of like that where I almost wish that, you know, there was this ancient religion and we got an explanation of this specific God and this specific texts that Christian turned into Christianity and then or turned into Judaism, then turned into Christianity and then turned into Mormonism, you know, and it kind of just got passed down, kind of like, you know, playing telephone a little bit. But we didn't get that, unfortunately, you know, for me anyway. For everybody else, they really might have liked. Did you like the ending? Did you like that route they went
I did. I did.
of the whole
I enjoyed
control
it.
thing? Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed it because, she's like, "Oh, I made it out." And then all of a sudden, she sees the butterfly, which, she talks about that's how she wants to go. And then all of a sudden it glitches out and she's in that white cloud area that they talked about. And
right,
obviously the next step would have been the conductor saying, wake up, or
right.
whatever they said, that Mr. Reed's theory was correct.
Yeah, right.
So I enjoyed it. I thought that was cool. It was it definitely it was separates the audience, like we see some of the people in our group, as far as and talk about, what they didn't like about it, and the ending was the one thing they didn't like, but a few people said the ending is what was great. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
enjoyed it.
And I think it's like, you know, what like when you're talking about like the very ending with the butterfly and all that, that is very cool. It was just more of the torturing of the women thing was just kind of a weird toss in that I feel like I needed more explanation for. That's all. We didn't spend enough time with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it was for me. But I do believe that like a lot of people probably liked that entire part and liked that ending. I really do. I think a lot of people enjoyed that. Um, but I just didn't. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It just kind of, I think I was hoping for something grander in the horror aspect at that point. And I didn't get it. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Like that's what happens. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's just because everything, I really, really enjoyed the back and forth between them. So yeah, I liked that aspect of the movie. You know what I mean? Them telling him their theories and then him telling them what he believes. You know what I mean? It was just this, and just the whole creepy aspect of like, you know, this religion of Mormonism where you have to go into someone's house and try to convert them. You know what I mean? And you have to convert a certain amount of people from what I'm told to be able to be baptized into the religion and that kind of thing. So there is that. It's a great idea, you know, like of, hey, you might walk into the wrong house. You know what I mean? And so, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
What did you think? Did he ever I don't remember. Did he ever explain his wife? Was she sick and died, or did he never have a wife? I can't
No,
remember.
he never had a wife,
Okay. So
because,
he just uses that.
yeah, like near the end, remember he said, he quizzed him and goes, "Do you truly believe that I'm going to actually talk to my wife?"
Right, right,
The tension started growing, that was the last question that ended, the friendly relationship between
right,
the ladies and Mr. Reed.
right, right.
So,
And
but
the suspense was great as well in this movie. Like
oh
the second when you feel that the door locks and then, and you almost get this, correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if you feel this opinion that Sophie Thatcher's character seemed like maybe she didn't 100% believe in what she was teaching. Like it just seemed like she had a little bit of something behind closed doors where she wasn't completely admitting because she had like they pull the thing out of her arm and the girl tells her that's probably a uh, birth control thing. You know what I mean? That she had been doing some things maybe that didn't line up with the religion. And they talk at the very beginning of the movie about, watching pornography and like how she says it's okay if you do. I'm not gonna like tell on you, It's like, and then she says a few things where she kind of just ponders up at the sky. So there's this thing where I don't fully believe, think she believed in everything that she was even teaching. I think she was, looking for something more when her father died and that type of thing. And she got rolled up into it a little bit more than maybe she had hoped she would. So I thought that was kind of cool because even Mr. Reed kind of mentions it where he's like, one of you isn't telling like the whole truth. You know what I mean? And he kind of mentions that, and he's kind of looking at Sophie Thatcher's character when he says that, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing to throw in there,
yeah, oh yeah. I thought it was great. I mean, the characters played great, but I definitely agree with you. Sister Barnes, as her name was, at the
Yes.
you were definitely tell, she was like on like the outsiders of, the religion, but she was still doing her thing though, still going house to house,
Yeah, and she converted like 8 or 9 people, which have to imagine is pretty hard in a religion to do to just convert someone to that
Oh,
just by speaking to them one time or whatever,
especially in today's age, that's incredible.
Absolutely, absolutely. So to be like, I've only converted 8 or 9, and the girl's like, what? That's crazy. Like, so she obviously has a knack for doing it. But yeah, I love the suspense of the movie of them being like, oh, your wife has to be present. Oh, I'll go get her. She's not here yet. Oh, I'll go get her. Don't worry. And then his questions get a little more personal and things like that. You can start to see, you see the sweat down, Chloe East's face and shit. And you're like, whoa, okay, this is getting interesting. They start to realize that they're probably in a little bit of danger. This guy might be a little wacky. They can't get out. The setup of the house is very odd. Um, so very cool. The whole setup of the miniature house kind of reminded me of like Hereditary. They have the dollhouse of the house, and it's kind of like this whole. He's the ventriloquist, he's the puppeteer, kind of working everything, and everything that they're doing that they think they're doing on their own. He's really orchestrating everything like happened for a reason. You know what I mean? Which was cool. Even though there were some mistakes made on both parts, I think it's still overall the goal was to get them to that room at some point. Um, I thought it was also interesting that she came back alive at the end to kill him, which was a pretty brutal kill, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, she saves the day. That's her miracle,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That was like a miracle on its own. So you're witnessing that miracle. You're witnessing like the whole butterfly thing. So you are witnessing miracles throughout what's happening,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
which is really cool.
I think my favorite part of the movie is, you see Topher Grace, right? So you assume that Topher Grace is gonna save the day.
Right,
You just like, yeah, okay, that's Topher Grace, I mean, Venom, you know what I mean? Like
right,
he's
right.
gonna he's gonna come in and save the day. But he does what probably happens in almost any missing person situation where one person's normally on that scene where those people are, and oh, sorry, they're not here. And then okay, and it just keeps going, because how is he supposed to know? Because you later find out that Hugh Grant's character, Mr. Reed, actually takes the girl's bikes.
Yes.
So that was I thought that was great, man. It was like, so because it really misleads you because you know that everyone's thinking. I mean, did you think that when you
Yeah,
saw,
well, absolutely. And I think just from being like a film buffs, like a film lover's standpoint, they even manipulate you with the acting where you're like, it's Topher Grace. He's not just gonna have this throwaway part. You know what I mean? Because he's Topher Grace and he's in a lot of
exactly.
movies. So you're
Yeah.
kind of like, so they did that on purpose. They didn't want it to, if you just have a random actor in there, you might think a little bit differently. You might be like, oh, okay, are they going to be saved? Because it's just someone who, I shouldn't say throwaway. Everybody's acting pieces is important in any movie, but
How dare you?
it's my bad to the acting community. But you get someone with a bigger name, and you're like, oh, they gotta have a more prominent part in this movie. And then when so you put Topher Grace in there, and then he just kind of walks away, and you're like, oh wait, like that's it. You know what I mean? You don't see Topher again, so it is really interesting. That definitely fooled me. I thought he was gonna go at least. Maybe they wouldn't make it out, but he would at least know what was going on, and he would get someone there, that kind of thing.
Oh man, I thought they were going to be fighting, man.
Yeah, yeah,
I was Topher Grace, the
yeah.
hero. So
Right, right. So, but I mean, I think they went the right route. That was a very, very good idea. Um, and it's just cool to see these movies where like the plot is just in one specific spot, basically. Always really hard to do because the dialogue has to be great, which it was. Um, So props to them on that too, writing a great screenplay. You know what I mean? Writing something that is keeps people locked in, even though it is mostly dialogue. It's very interesting and intriguing, and you want to understand because you're kind of looking at this guy like, fucking hey, he's making a lot of sense. It feels like you're in the room with those girls. Like at some point, they had to have been like, man, he's making a lot of sense here. This is interesting. You know what I mean? And then obviously Thatcher's character kind of comes out and says, well, you're forgetting about a lot. You just forget to mention a lot of different things, the Holocaust and why is Judaism not the most, populated religion? Because well, a lot of them were killed, It's like this. She's like, you're leaving out a lot of pieces of information.
I
So that
like
was that was interesting as well.
I like that, man. I liked it where they didn't make them, both those Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, it made them they were educated,
Yeah,
they had a system, and but they, as far as in Mr. Reed's character just fooled them, thinking that, hey, this is a genuine nice guy, and his wife's in in the next room, and
right.
but they were smart. I really enjoyed how they did that to both actresses, they
Yeah.
just weren't clueless, So
No, it was
it,
very much like they call it cat and mouse, but it was really much more like tennis. It was kind of back and forth where,
yeah,
because he was incredibly educated as well. And he had a lot of metaphors that worked in his favor. You know what I mean? Where you kind of would be like, oh man, I never thought about it like that. Like, I had no idea there was a game before Monopoly that Monopoly basically just took and became bigger. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So you kind of like play off the Judaism and Christianity thing. Um, So that stuff is very interesting to me. Like, me, I'm a dialogue guy. Like, I like those
Oh yeah.
movies. And this one seemed to be really good, important dialogue, but also pretty fast paced. Like, it didn't seem slow in any part because he's basically talking the whole time. Everything he's saying, you need to understand the movie fully. Um, so yeah, I mean, my score, I would probably go 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Three and a
Just
half out of five. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
just because
We're
of the
close. We're
just
close.
yeah, just the ending was a little tough for me. I was a little underwhelmed with it. And like I said at the beginning of the review here, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. Like doesn't mean it wasn't a well-made movie. It really is. That's just the way they decided to go with their story. And in my opinion, I would have liked to seen a different route. I would have liked to seen this kind of grand scale of a different religion. You know what I mean? So it's like, so for me, it's just you're adding a lot of thing in the melting pot here, and there was a lot that I wanted more explained of. That's all.
Yeah,
Now you're right. The whole Matrix thing, that is very cool, and what he's explaining, you have to pay
I love
attention
it.
to the dialogue to understand that. Um, seeing the butterfly glitch out, that kind of thing, very cool. And I think a lot of people like it. I think I'm in probably the minority in this situation. Both me and my wife, who had the same kind of um, thoughts on it. You know what I mean? Um,
She should have joined us tonight.
yeah, she's got a bunch of friends over tonight, so that's why I'm doing it up here in my my makeshift studio. But yeah, it was so when it comes to religious horror, like would you consider this movie a religious horror?
I mean, yeah. I
Or would it
mean,
be a psychological horror
I
or
was
both?
I would say a good mix. I mean, I bet
Yeah,
you could I mean it could easily be in both cues, you know.
sure. And it's definitely different than all the other ones.
Yeah.
So maybe it's me like gatekeeping a little bit on the religious horror side of things where I really like the route that they go. It's kind of repeated in all those types of movies, you know what I mean? In religious horror, it's usually an exorcism movie or it's, you know, um, about demons or you know what I mean? Supernatural, which I love all of those. And this kind of goes a different route and it just missed on a few points for me. That's all. Um, but I mean, it's a different movie. It's unique. It's not a throwaway movie. It's something that will be around for a long time, I think. It puts a different stamp on Hugh Grant for sure. And it's probably going to get these directors a chance to experiment more with other films.
Oh yeah. I mean,
You're see,
I mean, they
you
already impressed me with Haunt. I mean, I love those
yeah,
guys already.
yeah. Haunt was cool.
Yeah.
Haunt was really cool. Um, so it which I love about all these movies that we're reviewing for 2024 because I don't remember a year that was better than this one in a very long time. Very, very long time. You're getting a lot of unique horror movies, you're getting a lot of original stories. We're seeing that happen with The Substance right now. The Substance is winning all these awards and it's a completely different take on body horror and beauty and all these underlying themes. That's like a big swing in the dark. And
John,
you're seeing a lot of that.
I have a confession.
You haven't seen it yet.
I still haven't seen it yet.
You got it, man. It's out on Blu-ray now. So,
Oh man, I gotta check it out.
dude,
I'm falling behind.
just the practical effects of it will blow your mind. But again, you're seeing that a lot with these movies. Even though like Heretic wasn't my type of film, it's still like part of this conglomerate of movies that have come out this past year that have just been insanely good, insanely good. Like there's no way around it. It's just there's been great horror movies and they're taking awards. They're bringing other people to the genre. I mean, it's really awesome stuff that you're seeing here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I gotta check that out. I'm gonna go see Wolfman tomorrow though.
Oh,
You,
nice, nice, nice.
are you planning on seeing that soon?
Yeah, I do want to see it. I don't know if I'll get to the theater to see it. So I might have to wait for it to come out on streaming, which sucks, but
Ah,
you know,
ah,
with a 4 year old, I can only make it to the theaters every,
I get
May.
it.
It's hard to go. Sometimes I have to wait a couple of months to go, and I took my chance. I cashed in my ticket for Nosferatu. So
I'm
that
gonna bring a
was
camcorder. I got you. I want to bring a camcorder.
just let me get that that
I'll go.
that
I'll get
boot
it to you
that
eight to
bootleg
ten business
version,
days. 8 to 10 business days. You will have it.
that Fright Film Freaks bootleg shit.
Yes.
We're just kidding, YouTube. We're just kidding. Don't come after us. Um, but yeah, man. So you give it a, did you say 4 out of 5 or four and a
Yeah,
half?
4 out of 5. Four
Four out
out
of
of
five.
five.
I give it a
I
three and
enjoyed
a
it, man.
half. So I mean, we're close. We're close.
Oh yeah.
Um, Overall, really well made movie.
Check it out.
I'd like to hear people's thoughts
Yes.
on this movie because I really feel like there could be a great engagement of debate about it where I think there'll be a lot of talk of I think you missed the mark on the movie or you hit the nail on the head. I feel the same way you do. I don't, I feel like there could be, so be nice in the comments if you're going to comment, but
Oh, comment. Yes. I want to hear everyone's comment about
yeah,
this.
yeah. I think there'll
Yeah.
be a lot where it spoke to a lot of people differently than it did to other people. You know what I mean?
Please. Yeah,
Because
please let us know.
I do think there'll be a lot of not a majority, but I do think there'll be quite a few people that are like, I just didn't. get the ending of the movie. Um, where you can go both ways on that comment. You know, if you missed a couple pieces, that's why the dialogue has to be so engaging in this type of film because you have to be able to understand what they're talking about in order to kind of understand the ending, like you were talking about with the conductor and her, pulling out the it feels like his theory was that everybody kind of has an implant, right? I think that was kind of possibly his part of his like pulling on her tail a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
what do you believe? Do you believe that it's an implant on what I'm talking about? Do you believe that, and she comes out and says, I believe that it's a birth control thing because they do put those in your arm. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they're metal or not. I'm not really sure about that. That one was actually metal, which was interesting. And I was wondering why they did that at the beginning of the movie. They kind of showed that little scar and he was looking at it, and I was like, oh, that's going to come back for sure. There's no reason to just show that for nothing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there was just an explanation, and then there was also a different explanation for everything that he was saying, and kind of as he was kind of leading them down this maze, which was cool. So yeah, overall, well-made film, great acting, um, and just a unique story.
Yeah, I loved it. Thought
Any
it was
la
good.
any last thoughts on it?
No, it was great. Everyone, please check it out. Let us
Yeah,
know. Let us know what you think about it.
for
Even
sure.
you just shoot out a number 1 through 5.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's our episode 3, man. Third review
Hey,
of Fright Film Freaks.
next month's episode, My Bloody Valentine,
Yes, yes. Are we doing original?
1981.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that movie
Yes.
so much. I can't wait to talk about that film.
Hey, we're gonna have some guests on the next episode.
Okay, let's do
All
it.
right. We'll have some a couple members from the club.
Awesome.
As some of them have reached out and expressed they want to join, so we'll have
That's
them
great.
on the next episode. I think that'd be cool.
I love it. I love it, man. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. Get more people involved in these reviews and these debates and just talking
Yes.
movies. And that's gonna be a great one to talk about. So I'm super
Oh,
pumped about that,
we're
man.
gonna have fun doing that
Yeah,
one.
that's a great, great movie. And then we have Hard Eyes coming out, which would actually be
Ooh,
kind of an awesome review to just kind of double up this month because I'm really
let's do it.
excited about that one.
Let's do it. Let's do.
It has a lot of My Bloody Valentine vibes, obviously, to it, mixed with Scream in there, and then the poster kind of shouts out to the burning. It's like
Let's get
super
episode
cool.
3. Let's get episode 4,
And
My Bloody
five,
Valentine, and then episode 5,
Hard
Bloody
Eyes,
Eyes. I'm sorry.
Hard
Yeah,
Eyes, yeah,
Hard Eyes. Thank you. I
yeah.
got bloody in my vocabulary.
I'm down. I'm down for that, man. And
All right.
make sure you all like, subscribe to the channel. Um, just let everybody know. I am working on a film. We got a crowdfunding campaign up now. I'll post it below in the comments. I'll post the link if anybody
Yes.
wants to donate. We're trying to make $15,000 to make a movie. And if anybody hasn't checked out Devils Are We or any of my other short films, make sure you guys check those out. They're on the channel. Um, and yeah, appreciate you joining me again, man.
Oh man, anytime.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah, we'll keep it up.
Yeah.
Next month's gonna be a doozy, so stay up, people. We'll see you later.